Today in History. I feel like I'm a calendar whenever I do this. It's May 22nd today, and it's Thursday. We're going to continue with our journey to the past.
We are. We have two events to share with our listeners today, but first I have a quiz question. Here it is. Arcade games, which were popular during the 1980s and 90s, were played with, number one, care, or number two, coins. Okay, the question one more time. Arcade games, which were popular during the 1980s and 1990s, were played with, number one, care, or number two, coins. If you know the answer, then you can put it on our Bundy board or text in pounder sharp 1045 for 51, and you could win an eco bag and mug cup.
네, 자 오늘 게임 얘기하게 될 것 같네요. So we're going to be talking about two main items on Today in History. Here's the list.
Today in history. In 1859, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, creator of Sherlock Holmes, was born. And in 1980, the arcade game Pacman was released.
자, 1859년으로 거슬러 올라가겠습니다. 5월 22일 그 Arthur Conan Doyle 출생일이기도 하고요. 그다음에 1980년 5월 22일에는 이 Pacman 유명한 게임이죠. 나중에 이제 소리도 들려드리겠지만 빡빡빡. 자, Pacman 출시된 날이기도 합니다. Okay, so today we have two events to talk about, and they have become not only fads, trends, and influences in their respective fields, but also global cultural phenomena.
We begin in the 19th century when the author of one of the most recognizable and popular detectives was born on this day in 1851.
He was none other than Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, author of the one and only Sherlock Holmes.
1851, 1859, I think
1859?
I think I made a mistake before,
Right.
Okay, so he was born in Scotland, and he was a prolific writer whose works include the iconic Sherlock Holmes series, fantasy, science fiction, plays, romances, poetry, nonfiction, and historical novels as well.
와, 정말 다작한 그런 작가였네요. Prolific writer였네요. And interestingly enough, Doyle was actually a physician, having also studied ophthalmology, and he began writing while he was attending medical school.
Then, in 1887, he made history. His first story, A Study in Scarlet, was published, featuring, for the first time, his most well-known characters, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson.
그러니까 1887년 처음으로 셜록 홈즈와 존 왓슨이 등장한 주홍색 연구가 출간이 됐습니다. And from that point, Holmes' popularity skyrocketed, and he was immortalized in 4 novels and 56 short stories.
Doyle's character was no different from a phenomenon, and his stories became the foundations for the crime fiction genre. And even when he considered putting an end to his character, his very own mother objected, responding in a letter, "You won't, you can't, you mustn't."
엄마 아무래도 이 셜록 홈즈는 내가 이 주인공 죽여야 될 것 같아 라고 했더니 그 어머니께서 절대 안 돼 라고 하셨군요. So she must have been a huge fan
I
of
guess
Sherlock
so,
Holmes.
yeah.
And thanks for that. And you know what they say, a mother knows best,
That's
right?
true,
네,
yeah.
엄마 말 잘 들어야죠. So Sherlock Holmes continues to delight fans to this day, and he, as well as Doyle, is no short of accolades, adaptations, spin-offs, and fans.
In fact, there's even a Sherlock Holmes museum in England.
어머나, 어머나. 네.
Did you enjoy the recent film adaptation? It was Robert Downey Jr., right?
Yes, actually,
Yeah?
very much so, yes. 네, 그런가 하면 또 TV 버전도 정말 요즘 많이 그 컴버 뭐는 저 사람 이름이
Right,
네.
that's we can see it on Boyne Radio there. And
Benedict
Cumberbatch,
네,
right.
it's hugely popular.
And then I think there's a show with Lucy Liu in America that's based on it as well.
Oh, really?
I think so. I could be wrong.
She's the main character in the series?
She's one of the main characters, but
Okay.
it might be different. I'm not sure. Anyway, regardless, we can see obviously that it was a long time ago it was created, but it's still super popular today.
Of course. And now let's move on to the following century when another cultural phenomena was born.
Yes, it was on this day in 1980 that the best-selling and one of the most popular arcade games in history was released, and maybe most of you might be able to guess the game just by hearing its staple sound effects. Have a listen.
Right. I was waiting for this. Wow, 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 wow.
They got him. The ghosts got him, right?
Right. That game was the one and only Pacman.
Absolutely. Pac-Man is considered virtually synonymous with video games and an icon of the 1980s popular culture. And to this day, the game is considered as a landmark moment in video game history. So it really does come as no surprise that it is ranked as one of the most popular and highest grossing games of all time.
아, 그래요? 지금까지 있어온 모든 비디오 게임 가운데서 가장 많은 수익을 올린 게임으로 기록되고 있군요. So this game generated a cartoon series, spin-offs, more than 120 versions, and moreover, it's part of the collection of the Smithsonian Institution and the New York Museum of Modern Art.
Pretty cool, huh? Now, Pac-Man was designed to have no ending, literally. As long as the player had one life left, the game could be played indefinitely. And a perfect game would occur if the player could achieve the maximum possible score on the first 255 levels, which is only possible if the player ate all the dots, all the power pellets, all the fruits, and the ghosts without losing a single life. I don't know if anybody ever did that.
그러니까요. And although this sounds impossible, video game player Billy Mitchell became the very first person to achieve this feat in 6 hours in 1999.
Wow, so there was one person who did
At
it.
least one, yes.
Yeah. Billy Mitchell, huh?
네,
6
그렇죠.
hours, that's all. Well, yeah, I guess because you don't die, right?
그러니까요.
Yeah.
끝까지 살아있대잖아요. 지금
Yeah.
보이는 라디오를 통해서 보여드리고 있습니다.
Well, Pac-Man, above anything else, is a game of records. Can you guess how many coins are estimated to have been inserted into a Pac-Man machine or Pac-Man machines?
Like 5 million?
5 million? Try 7 billion.
7
7
billion.
billion coins.
야, 엄청나네요. 오케이. 자, 오늘 이렇게 해서 또 기억될 그런 몇 가지 일들이 있었네요. And before we wrap up, so what's the answer to your quiz question?
Well, the question was, arcade games, which were popular during the 1980s and 1990s, were played with, number 1, care, or number 2, coins, and the answer is number 2, coins.
Of course, they were played with a lot of care, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's
네,
right.
물론 열심히 이제 신경 써서 또 했겠죠. 그러나 코인을 넣어서 또 이 게임을 할 수 있었습니다.
We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. We'll get started with Daniel and today's cine premieres. First, though, enjoy Elvis Costello's She.